Imagine paying 50 years of your entire salary just to buy a small apartment in Seoul. This isn't a made-up story. It's the harsh reality facing young South Koreans today. In 2023, the average apartment in Seoul costs over $1 million, while the average yearly salary for young workers is just $24,000. Meet Jin Ho, a 28-year-old Korean who represents millions of young people in the country. Every morning, he wakes up in his tiny room, just 5 square meters, 50 square feet, that costs him 1/3 of his monthly salary. Despite having a college degree and speaking 3 languages, he's stuck in a temporary job with no security. I work 12 hours a day, but I can barely save any money, he says. Owning a home feels like an impossible dream. This crushing reality has led young Koreans to call their country Hell Joseon, comparing today's Korea to the strict social hierarchy of the ancient Joseon dynasty. It's a bitter joke that means no matter how hard you work, success feels impossible if you weren't born into wealth. Recent surveys show that 7 out of 10 young Koreans want to leave the country for better opportunities elsewhere. In South Korea, they call this generation the Sampo generation. Young people who have given up on 3 essential life goals: dating, marriage, and having children. But why has it become so hard to live in one of Asia's richest countries? Let's break down the brutal reality facing Korean youth today. Let's talk about the biggest problem young Koreans face: finding a place to live. The numbers are shocking. In the last 10 years, house prices in Seoul have gone up by more than 90%. But young people's salaries haven't grown much at all. Here's what this means in real life. An average apartment in Seoul now costs about $1 million. To buy this apartment, a young Korean worker needs to save every penny they earn for 20 years, without spending anything on food, transport, or basic needs. Even renting is super expensive. A small apartment in Seoul costs about $1,000 to rent each month, while a fresh graduate typically earns only $2,000 monthly. Do the math. That's half their salary just for a place to sleep. Because of these crazy prices, many young people are forced to live in goshiwons. What's a goshiwon? Picture a room smaller than a parking space, usually just 5 square meters, 50 square feet. These tiny boxes often don't even have a private bathroom or kitchen. Young people share these facilities with others on their floor. Think of it like living in a closet, but still paying $350 to $400 per month for it. More than 400,000 young Koreans live in these tiny rooms today. This housing crisis is destroying young people's dreams of having families. Kim Min-ji, a 29-year-old office worker, tells us, "I've been dating my boyfriend for 5 years, but we can't get married. We both work full-time jobs, but we still can't afford even a small apartment. How can we think about having kids when we can barely afford a place to live ourselves?" The numbers back up Min-ji's story. In 2022, only 21% of young Koreans in their 20s and 30s own their homes. That's less than half the number from 10 years ago. And here's another sad fact. South Korea now has the world's lowest birth rate, just 0.78 babies per woman in 2023. Many young couples say the main reason they're not having children is that they can't afford a proper home. Now that we understand the housing problem, let's look at why young Koreans can't afford these expensive homes. It's all about jobs and the crazy competition to get them. Think about this. In 2023, for every good job opening at a big Korean company, more than 500 young people compete for it. That means if you're applying for a job, you're fighting against hundreds of other people who want the same position. And here's the scary part. Even getting good grades in college isn't enough anymore. Korean companies have created something called Spec culture. Spec means specifications, like a computer's features. But here, it's about collecting as many qualifications as possible. Young Koreans typically need a degree from a top university, perfect English test, scores a 2nd or 3rd foreign language, special certificates in their field, volunteer experience internships at famous companies. Meet Young Ho, who's been trying to get a full-time job for 2 years. "I have a good degree, speak English and Chinese, and have 3 different job certificates. But companies still tell me I need more experience. I've spent over $20,000 just on getting these qualifications." Even if you get a job, things aren't easy. About 40% of young workers are irregular workers. This means they don't have stable jobs. Their contracts might end after a few months or a year. They also get paid less and don't get the same benefits as regular workers. Many young people dream of working for big companies like Samsung, Hyundai, or LG, called chaebols. These companies offer good pay and job security, but they only hire a small number of people each year. If you end up working for a smaller company, you might earn only half as much money. For example, a worker at Samsung might earn $50,000 per year, while someone doing the same job at a small company might only get $25,000. The pressure is so high that many young Koreans say they start preparing for their careers when they're just 15 or 16 years old. Yet even with all this preparation, finding a good job feels like winning the lottery. Let's talk about why getting all these qualifications for jobs is so expensive. The race starts early in Korea, way before college or job hunting begins. Most Korean students spend their days like this. They go to regular school from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., but that's just the beginning. After school, they rush to private tutoring centers called hagwons. They study there until 10 p.m. or even later. Some students study up to 16 hours a day. These hagwons are super expensive. Korean parents spend an average of $1,000 per month just on extra classes for one child. That's more than any other country in the world. In 2023, Korean families spent over $20 billion on private education. Think about that. That's more than what some small countries earn in a whole year. But the costs don't stop there. Getting into a good university is like a war in Korea. The college entrance exam is so important that on test day, planes stop flying during listening tests. Stock markets open late. Police cars give free rides to students who might be late. Parents pray at temples for good scores. Even after spending all this money on education, most students still need student loans for college. The average Korean student graduates with $20,000 in debt. But here's the crazy part. Getting a degree isn't enough anymore. Young Koreans keep paying for more certificates and degrees after college. Why? Because everyone else is doing it too. Park Min-soo, a college senior, tells us, "I'm already taking extra classes for my job search while studying for my degree. My parents have spent their life savings on my education, but I'm scared it still won't be enough to get a good job." This system creates a never-ending cycle. People spend more money on education to get better jobs. But because everyone does this, you need even more education to stand out. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps getting faster and faster. All these pressures of money, housing, jobs, and education are changing how young Koreans live their lives. The changes are so big that they're reshaping Korean society itself. Marriage? Most young Koreans say they can't even think about it. The average age for getting married has jumped to 33 years old, the highest ever in Korea's history. Many simply can't afford the costs of dating, weddings, or starting a family. Back in 1990, 9 out of 10 Koreans got married. Today, only 4 out of 10 think marriage is necessary. This has created what Koreans call the Sampo generation. Young people giving up 3 things: dating, marriage, and having kids. The birth rate shows how serious this is. In 2023, Korea broke the record for the world's lowest birth rate, less than 1 baby per woman. Many cities now have more pet shops than baby stores. The stress is taking a heavy toll on mental health. A recent survey found that 7 out of 10 young Koreans feel severely depressed. Many say they're too busy working or studying to make friends or date. PC rooms and single-person cafes are packed with young people sitting alone. Song Ji-won, a 25-year-old office worker, shares, "I spend most weekends alone in my small room. I'm too tired after work to meet friends, and dating is expensive. Sometimes I go days without talking to anyone except my coworkers. Many of my friends live the same way." The money problems young Koreans face today go beyond just finding a job. Their whole financial future looks shaky, and the numbers tell a scary story. While prices for everything keep going up, young people's salaries stay almost the same. In 2023, basic living costs in Seoul rose by 12%, but entry-level salaries only went up by 2%. A cup of coffee that cost $3 5 years ago now costs $5. Monthly grocery bills have doubled, but young workers' paychecks, they barely changed. The difference in money between young and old generations is huge. People in their 20s and 30s own only 5% of all the wealth in Korea. Meanwhile, people over 50 own 75% of all houses and savings. This gap keeps getting bigger every year. Young Koreans today earn 40% less than their parents did at the same age, when you consider how much things cost now. COVID-19 made everything worse. When the pandemic hit, young workers were the first to lose their jobs. More than 400,000 young Koreans lost their positions in 2020 alone. Even though COVID is mostly over, many of these jobs never came back. Instead, companies replaced them with temporary workers or part-time positions that pay less. Lee Jun-ho, a 27-year-old delivery worker, explains, "My parents bought their house when they were my age with just 5 years of savings. They didn't even have college degrees. Today I have a university degree and 2 jobs, but I can barely afford to rent a tiny room." It feels like our generation is playing a game that's impossible to win. Some young people call this inherited poverty, being born into a generation that can't build wealth no matter how hard they work. The rich get richer through their parents' help, while others fall further behind. Despite these tough challenges, young Koreans aren't giving up. They're finding new ways to cope, and some government help is slowly appearing. The Korean government started several programs to help young people. They now give $500 monthly for 6 months to job seekers under 30. They also created a special bank loan system where young people can borrow money for houses at lower interest rates. But many say these programs aren't enough. Only 1 in 5 young people actually gets this help. Young Koreans are getting creative with solutions. Many now choose share houses, where 4 to 5 people live together to split the high rent costs. This was rare in Korea before, but now there are over 1,000 share houses in Seoul alone. Some young people are also moving to smaller cities where living costs are 40% lower than Seoul. Career choices are changing too. Instead of chasing traditional company jobs, more young people start small online businesses. Some become YouTubers, online sellers, or freelancers. In 2023, over 300,000 young Koreans registered as self-employed, double the number from 5 years ago. Other young Koreans look overseas. Countries like Singapore and Vietnam are becoming popular choices for work. Kim Soo-jin, who moved to Vietnam, says, "I earn less money here, but I can save more. Life is less stressful, and I actually see a future for myself." These problems aren't unique to Korea. Young people in Japan, Hong Kong, and Taiwan face similar challenges. But Korea's case stands out because the changes happened so quickly. In just 1 generation, life became dramatically harder for young people. The life of young Koreans today paints a challenging picture. From million-dollar apartments to endless job competition, from crushing education costs to lonely lifestyles, it's a daily struggle that's changing an entire generation. But the story isn't over. Young Koreans are speaking up more than ever about these problems. They're finding creative solutions and demanding bigger changes from their government and society. Some positive changes are happening, even if they're small and slow. The real question isn't just about living in South Korea. It's about what happens when a society makes life too hard for its young people. Will Korea find a way to give its youth hope again? The answer might reshape not just Korea's future, but serve as a lesson for countries facing similar challenges. Remember Jin-ho from the beginning of our story? Like millions of young Koreans, he's still working hard and hoping for change. Their struggle isn't just about survival, it's about fighting for a future where dreams don't feel impossible. If you found this video helpful in understanding what's happening in Korea, share it with others. Understanding these challenges is the first step to solving them.